Well, the one I just had just busted my line.
Was going on, and we leave with the speaker. I tell him I don't care who it is, but I want a commitment from all of you. This is going to be done.
Here comes one.
Done 2 weeks ago. It should never been done in the first place. McCarthy shouldn't have been fired.
It don't look like it's going to be a big one.
If you're going to fire him, do something.
Could be it.
And that's what leadership is about. Instead of him being in Washington and doing that, or being on the phone and doing that, he's off taking care of numero uno. Because in the end, that's all he cares about. And look,
It's another big one. See if he busts my line.
What kind of country we want to be? It starts in this country with who our president is. We have a president now who, frankly, isn't up to the job. I mean,
Come on.
I don't disagree with what he's been doing with Israel. I think he's done the right thing. I thought the speech he gave the other night was fine. But look at what he does from day to day. And do you believe that that's the image for America?
You got to be quick setting attention.
Forward-looking image, putting aside all the policies for a second, which we'll talk about tonight. It is not. And so here's what we have. We have one guy who's going to spend most of the next 2 years in the courtroom defending himself against fraud charges and criminal charges. We got another guy who's going to be 82 on election day. And listen, everybody, you know, age matters too. And Father Time always wins.
It's going to be silver.
None of us beat Father Time. And I will tell you, if I were Joe Biden's son, watching what I'm watching, I would go up to him, put my hand on his shoulder and say, Dad, congratulations. You did the right thing for the country. You served the country, but it's time to go home. But instead, his son's too busy making money off his father's name, and they're in on the grift. In the very same way that Trump's children are in on the grift too. No coincidence, everybody, that 6 months after they left the White House, Jared Kushner and his wife Ivanka got $2 billion from the Saudis. $2 billion from the Saudis. No coincidence. They didn't invest in it because he was such a brilliant investor. It was a payback for all the stuff that happened, most of which we probably don't know about.
Bingo. There we go. Look at that.
And so in the end, we're going to talk about a whole ton of issues tonight.
246 credits. Not bad. 22 pounds.
I did 150 of them in my first term as governor.
Let's try another one.
I did over 100 of them when I ran for president last time, and we've been doing it the same way every
Here we
time.
go.
There are no pre-screened questions. You didn't have to fill out cards that my staff could screen before you got a chance to ask them. You're not going to be limited to
Right now at the present, I'm at level 35, and you can see where I'm at all the way to the
He may
left.
get the first question. Because I'm open, but I'm not done.
Let's see.
So all we're going to do tonight is you raise your hand. I think we have microphones around for everybody. Yeah, we do. So you raise your hand. I'll call on you. You ask me whatever question you want. And here's the one guarantee I will give you. You will get an answer. I don't know whether you like it or not. We'll find that out. But you're going to get an answer. We don't evade any questions here. Sir,
Still don't have nobody.
She's going to bring the microphone. She's going to bring the microphone over to you so everybody can hear you. Right there.
Who would be your vice president?
How about instead of giving you a name, because I really, what, you want a name? I gotta tell you, I think it would be pretty conceited of me to pick the name tonight. But let me tell you, no, I can't, because you know what? Then I'm going to announce a name to somebody who doesn't even know I'm going to announce his or her name tonight. And see all those cameras back there? They're going to be all over the news. Let me tell you the title. I know. Let me tell you the title. I'm not avoiding the question. I think it's, look, I'm not avoiding the question. I think it'd be, I'm looking forward to being on Channel 5 tomorrow. Look, it would be unfair of me to do it. Let me tell you the type of person I'll pick. And you might be able to figure, I think it, look, I'm not avoiding the question. I think it'd be, I'm looking forward to being on Channel 5.
Here we go.
Look, it would be unfair of me to do it. Let me tell you the type of person.
Holy shit.
You might be able to figure out who the person might be for you. Okay? First and foremost, it's in your answer. I'm giving you an ear answer. It's in your answer, but here's the problem.
It's gonna be a big one.
If I give you the real answer, that person's going to get
Come on.
bombarded tomorrow. Fair to them if I haven't called them first and said, you're my first choice, which I haven't done. So let me give you the type of person. The type of person will be first and foremost someone who I think could be president if I were to hit the bricks. Second, it would have to be someone who's had actual governing experience. All right? Not somebody who's to be fair to people in Congress. I don't want to for Congress. Okay? Because they haven't governed anything. I want somebody that would be fine because they'd have real governing experience. If you were a congressman and a governor, yes. And third, I want somebody I like. Because if I don't pick someone I like, I guarantee what's going to happen. You know, let me tell you something. In like another 30 seconds, I'm picking you. Because you look tough, you look like you may have run a couple of things, and I'm getting to like you more and more as you keep coming back at me. So I think I might pick you. But the reason I have to pick someone I like is I know that if I don't like the person, if I pick them just for political reasons, I'm not going to ask their opinion. I'm not going to include them in what's going on. They're going to be isolated away. I want someone who I want next to me, who I will listen to, and
No.
whose advice that I care about.
This is second.
Because here we go. By the way, this is our show tonight. All of you just watched. Well, you're right.
Nobody
What
watching.
he said was it's not just a 4-year selection or an 8-year selection. It's a selection that goes much further down the road, and he's absolutely right. That who you put in that position and who you set up as a potential successor to you matters to the country and should matter to the country. And I think that's why a lot of people, even on the Democratic side, are really concerned about Joe Biden's successor. Because a lot of them look at the vice president and say, no, thank you. And so, you know, you got to pick somebody who meets those criteria. And you did. You got about as close as anybody could get me to come to actually giving a name. So congratulations, but no names tonight. No names tonight. All right. Yes, sir. Right over there.
So 2 quick questions.
Damn.
Do you want beers in front of your drawer on my tab? And secondly, you talked about not raising your hand at the debate. So do I applaud you for your conviction, or do I denigrate you for signing that pledge that says you'll support the Republican nominee just to be on the debate stage?
Well, I think it was really important for me to be on the debate stage because if I wasn't, nobody else would be taking Trump on. So I think it's really important to do that. And what I said when I signed the pledge was, I'll take it every bit as seriously as Donald Trump took it 8 years ago when he signed the pledge. All right? So, now I don't want the beer yet, but 3 or 4 more questions, I made points here. Go, let's go. But, you know, look, I signed the pledge to make sure I was on the stage. But I don't think any of you who watch any of the debates or watch anything I've done have any doubt about how I feel about Donald Trump and his fitness for the presidency, and to be very clear to know that I would not support him if he were the party's nominee because he doesn't belong within 5 miles of the White House, let alone behind the desk in the Oval Office. Yes, sir, right there. Hold on, let him get the microphone because everybody can hear you then.
So, Governor, does that mean you'd run as a third party?
No, I would not run as a third party.
Why not?
Let me tell you why. First of all, because I'm running because I want to be president of the United States, not to stop anybody else, but because...
Now, if you've been flying your drone for a while, you want to start using your drone commercially, or you want to get a career in drone.
Under the new rule, these firearm owners will be required to obtain special registration.
They want to make it impossible to exercise the Second Amendment rights. And what better way to do this than to make it difficult to purchase?
We've already lost more than 13,000 Americans to gun deaths so far this year.
At some counts, so far this year, there have already been 174 mass shootings
In the United States, and that is not what the Democrats are attempting to ban today because that's already banned.
Hey there, folks. Let's dive into the big news. Judge Min, in what's being called a game-changing decision, recently took a sledgehammer to California's ban on so-called attack weapons. Buckle up, because we're about to unpack this ruling in an engaging and informal tone. So picture this. Judge Min steps into the legal ring, and with one mighty swing, he declares that California's ban on attack weapons is a violation of our beloved Second Amendment. If you're a gun rights advocate, this was like hitting the jackpot. You see, the Second Amendment is part of the U.S. Constitution that grants Americans the right to bear arms. And when a judge says the ban on attack weapons is a no-go, it's like saying, hey, you've got the green light to own these weapons. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what this means.
Weaponized against FFLs and the gun industry as a whole as a way of shutting down otherwise legally implemented weapons.
Under the new rule, these firearm owners will be required to obtain special registration.
We are the only nation in the industrialized world that tolerates such gruesome statistics.
You've got folks who've been waiting for this moment for a long time, probably dancing in the streets. But there are others who aren't too thrilled about this ruling, especially those who've pushed for stricter gun control laws. This is where things get spicy. The judge's decision has ignited a blazing hot legal debate about gun control in California. On one side, you've got gun rights advocates who are celebrating this ruling as a victory for their constitutional freedoms. They argue that the ban on attack weapons was infringing on their right to bear arms and protect themselves and their property. These folks are probably popping champagne corks right now. But on the flip side, you've got those who see this ruling as a potential danger. They're concerned that easing restrictions on attack weapons might lead to an increase in gun violence and mass shootings. They've been advocating for stricter firearm regulations to keep communities safe. This is where the fireworks start. The ruling has set the stage for a massive showdown in California, with legal eagles from both sides gearing up for battle. You can bet that the appeals are flying in faster than a hot dog at a 4th of July barbecue. Constitutional challenge to California's gun laws. All right, let's get into the legal ring and talk about the heart of the matter, the constitutional challenge to California's gun laws, as seen in the folks behind this case, known as the plaintiffs, are basically saying, hey California, your ban on attack weapons is stepping on our constitutional toes. More specifically, they're talking about the Second Amendment, which is a big deal in the United States. The Second Amendment is part of the U.S. Constitution that says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In plain English, it means that Americans have the right to own and carry firearms. Now, the plaintiffs in the Miller versus California case are saying that California's ban on attack weapons is a violation of this constitutional right. They believe that folks should be able to own these weapons without the state getting in the way. That's where the legal showdown begins. Specifically, this case takes a magnifying glass to California's definition of what an attack weapon is. You see, the state has its own set of rules that define what falls under the category of an attack weapon. These rules aren't just about the type of gun. They also involve restrictions on who can own and possess them.
They want to make it impossible to exercise Second Amendment rights. And what better way to do this than to make it
3-round burst or semi-automatic. Those firearms are not allowed for purchase in the United States today.
We submitted formal petitions for rulemaking through the appropriate channels.
It's like a tight leash on who can have these firearms and
There we
how
go.
they're used. The plaintiffs are arguing that this definition and these restrictions go too far. They're saying it's like the state is overstepping its bounds by telling people what kind of weapons they can or can't have and how they can use them. It's a classic case of individual rights versus government regulation. So what we've got here is a legal tug-of-war.
Baitcaster.
On one side, you've got the state of California saying these laws are necessary for public safety. On the other side, you've got the plaintiffs saying these laws infringe on their Second Amendment rights. It's a high-stakes game of who's right and who's wrong, and the outcome could have significant implications for gun owners, not just in California, but potentially across the country. As this case unfolds, keep an eye out for the arguments, the evidence, and the legal wrangling that'll determine whether California's definition of attack weapons and restrictions will stand, or whether they'll be found across the line when it comes to the Second Amendment. This is one of those courtroom battles that's got everyone talking, and it's far from over. Appeal process in the Ninth Circuit. Now let's talk about the appeal process in the Ninth Circuit. It's where the rubber meets the road after Judge Min dropped his legal shocker. This is the stage where things get really interesting. So, picture this. After Judge Min made his decision to strike down California's ban on so-called attack weapons, the state of California didn't just throw in the towel. Nope, they went for the big guns, or rather, the big lawyers, and initiated an appeal. An appeal, in simple terms, is like saying, hey, we don't agree with the lower court's decision, and we want a higher court to take a look at it. That's where the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals comes into play. The Ninth Circuit is one of the 13 U.S. Courts of Appeals, and covers a big chunk of the western U.S.
Earlier this year, the ATF issued a rule that unilaterally puts new restrictions on Second Amendment rights.
We've already lost more than 13,000 Americans to gun deaths so far this year.
What we're talking about is a semi-automatic rifle.
It's a heavyweight when it comes to handling important legal cases. This one is no exception.
See that?
The appeal is like the opening round of a legal boxing match.
Vanilla.
It's the state of California in one corner, and the gun rights
Silver.
advocates in the other, slugging it out with legal arguments, precedents, and of course the Constitution itself. This is
a
where both
quick
sides
way
get
to make
present their case
cash
and try to convince the appeals court that they're in the right.
and
But
go up
here's
in
the
levels.
kicker. This appeal isn't the final verdict. It's just the beginning of a series of legal moves in this game. It's like getting the referee's attention and saying, "We need a second opinion." If the appeals court agrees with the state of California, the ban could be upheld, and Judge Min's decision could be overruled. If not, well, we could be looking at a whole new ballgame. Comparing Miller and Duncan cases.
Oh shit.
Let's take a look at a little courtroom showdown. The Miller case versus the Duncan case. They're like two separate episodes of a legal drama, each with its own unique plot, characters, and twists. First up, we've got the Duncan case.
Yeah, another
This
one.
one was all about California's ban on large capacity magazines. You know, those magazines that hold a bunch of bullets? Well, the state had put the brakes on those, and Duncan challenged that decision. They said, "Hey, we have the right to own these large capacity magazines under the Second Amendment." It was a bit like a battle over the size of a popcorn bucket at the movies.
You may have noticed in my AR-15 right here that there's no serial numbers. No markings of any kind. The reason why that is because the best way to get the guns that you need to prepare for what's coming is to avoid serial numbers. A lot of people don't know this, but the best way to get your guns is not by buying at gun shops, like 97% of gun owners do. Now, I know that might come as a shocker, and it might sound a little bit crazy. I mean, how do you even get guns unless you buy them, right? But I've actually acquired my own custom AR-15, my own Glock, my own AR-308, my own 1911 handgun, my own AK-47, and even an AR-9 pistol caliber carbine, all without ever going to a gun shop. And I didn't buy them online. And no, there's no such thing as a gun show loophole, so I didn't use that. Instead, there's a hidden loophole in the Second Amendment that makes it possible for you to get your own guns easier than that. And what's so great about this method is you can get all types of guns, like I just showed you, customized however you like. It's the most private way to own guns. It protects you against future gun control. Now, I can't tell you more about it in this video because certain big tech companies are actually very anti-gun, and they like to censor pro-gun information. But what I've done is put all the information you need inside a super short but powerful book called the Second Amendment Bible. It shows you the same step-by-step system that I and others use to get guns privately.
Check this one
You
out.
can't find this controversial book anywhere online at Amazon or anywhere
Almost
else.
300
It's only on a private website
credits.
that's been viewed over 218,000
What we got now?
times by other concerned patriots. But the best part is, for a limited time and only while supplies last, you can get this new book
75.
Simply click the link below to get your free copy right now.
7,500
This book, the Second Amendment Bible, is concise yet
points.
informative. Government lies and propaganda are exposed.
What?
Honest
Get 'em.
statistics. United States
Get 'em.
has a Bill of Rights, not a Bill of Privileges.
The Second Amendment Bible needs to be added to the New Testament. Seriously, that good.
Here we go
The
again.
Second Amendment Bible is filled with such good information. I'm super happy with my book. And even after just reading a little, I've learned so much.
I just bought the Second Amendment Bible because I wanted to be able to speak about the Second Amendment and actually know what I'm talking about.
Second Amendment Bible explains things clearly and simply, but still teaches on an adult level. My book actually arrived so quickly that it surprised me, which is perfectly fine because I was immediately ready to start reading. Thank you so much for the book. I can...
Where you guys worked with the ATF to change something that had been the law for 10 years to go after law-abiding Second Amendment.
At some counts, so far this year, there have already been 174 mass shootings.
Just how much can you have? Now let's switch gears to the Miller case. Here, the focus is on California's ban on so-called attack weapons. These are typically semi-auto firearms that have certain features and characteristics that put them in the state's ban list. The Miller plaintiffs are saying, hold on, we have Second Amendment rights too, and this ban is going too far. So what's the deal with the differences? Well, it's like comparing apples to oranges. Both fruit, but with distinct flavors. In the legal world, the Duncan and Miller cases have different arguments, procedural postures, and even potential implications. First, the legal arguments are not the same. Duncan is all about magazine capacity, and whether limiting it infringes on Second Amendment rights. Miller, on the other hand, is about the ban on specific firearm features and characteristics. It's like arguing whether it's the cheese or the sauce that makes the pizza great. Different ingredients, different arguments.
In the United States, and that is not what the Democrats are attempting to ban today because that's already banned.
Did you or anyone in your organization communicate with the ATF?
Damn. There's another one. Almost 30 pounds.
Posture. In Duncan's case, there was a temporary period known as Freedom Week, when certain magazine purchases were allowed before the state tried to slam on the brakes. Miller, however, had a temporary stay on enforcement from Judge Min that's set to expire. So, different timelines and situations entirely. And then, there are the potential implications.
Boy, these are coming
quick.
quick.
A win for Duncan could mean that Californians can keep their
Yes,
large
they are.
magazines.
Real
While a
quick.
win for Miller could have broader implications for semi-auto firearms and their features. One is like saying, you can have that big soda, and the other is saying, you can choose your pizza toppings. So what's the bottom line? These cases are not one and the same, despite both challenging California's gun laws. They each have their unique legal battles, and their outcomes will affect different aspects of gun ownership. It's like following two separate TV series. You never know which one will have the bigger plot twist, but you're definitely in for some legal drama. 10-day stay in the Miller case. Let's dive into the legal realm and talk about what's happening with that 10-day stay in the Miller case. It's like a timeout in a high-stakes game, but this timeout could affect a lot more than just the players. So, picture this. Judge Min, after dropping the legal shocker and declaring constitutional, hit the pause button. He issued what's called a stay. What's a stay, you ask? It's like a temporary freeze on the enforcement of the judge's decision. In simple terms, it means that the ban on these attack weapons won't be lifted just yet. Now, here's the catch. This stay is only for 10 days. It's like saying, okay, everyone take a deep breath and hold on for a moment.
Bam.
We need to figure out the next steps.
There's
The clock
another
is
one.
ticking,
That's
and
only
the stay is set
21.
to expire on a specific date. But here's where things get interesting.
Look at
the
the
duration of
credits.
this stay and
Look
whether
at
it gets
how much
extended
already.
is a make it or break it aspect of this legal showdown.
Let's
If the
see.
stay isn't extended, it's game on, and the ban on these attack weapons would be lifted. People who own or want to own these firearms would be allowed to do so. But if the stay does get extended, it's like saying, hold on, we need more time to think this over. The ban remains in place while the legal gears continue to grind.
Strategy we have observed and that we will discuss today involves targeting.
Did you know that you could get $50,000 to over $150,000 of investment capital at zero?
Firearms, unfortunately, the ATF has been expanding its authorities by targeting legal federal firearms license holders or FFLs.
Every day, more than 100 people in America die from gun violence and many more.
This extension decision is no small matter and could have significant implications. It's like deciding whether to call an extra inning in a tied baseball game. And here's the thing. This decision doesn't just rest on the judge's shoulders. It could go to a different panel within the Ninth Circuit for consideration. The Ninth Circuit is like the referee in this legal match, and they get to make the call. So what does all this mean for the folks involved? Well, it's a waiting game. People who are passionate about their Second Amendment rights are watching the clock and the legal maneuvering. If the stay isn't extended, they could get a green light to own these firearms.
Go.
But if
Bam.
it is extended, the ban remains.
There
and
we
the
go,
legal battle
baby.
continues.
Look at that. Another
So,
one.
you see, that 10-day stay is
Huh?
like the ticking heart of this legal thriller.
What do you think?
Its duration and whether it gets extended will
I
determine
wanna
when
see
and
something.
how this groundbreaking decision takes effect. We're
Booyah.
on for some nail-biting suspense as we wait to see which way the scales tip in this legal drama. Procedural differences between Miller and Duncan. All right, folks, let's break down the procedural differences between the Miller and Duncan cases. It's like comparing two different seasons of your favorite TV show. Similar characters, but a whole new plot. So in the case of Duncan, the state of California originally didn't request a stay on the enforcement